Well, good Thursday morning, everybody. It is November 18th, and it is 2021 for those that might be watching this in some other year down the road. But it's a bit chilly here in Lake City this morning. The winds are blowing, and it's not. It could be a lot worse, but it's kind of chilly, and we're still kind of wimps. We haven't gotten used to winter yet by any stretch. No, it's not winter yet. It's just deep fall. But at any rate, we are continuing to work our way through the story of the resurrection of Lazarus. We will probably have at least another day where we're talking about Lazarus tomorrow, and then we'll leave it off until Monday to come back and talk about what the reaction is to that by the Jewish leaders. But today we have left off. Jesus had been notified that Lazarus was sick, and they had sent, Mary and Martha had sent a runner, because remember, Jesus is about 30 miles away, we're thinking, over by the Jordan, and they're down by Jerusalem. He had left Jerusalem to go up there to kind of get out of there because he was getting in trouble, and they were wanting to stone him. And he said he was going back, and of course, when we left off with Thomas, boldly saying that we will go and die with you. And he's, his all-in statement, as I sometimes say. So Thomas is all in, lest we can remember to call him Doubting Thomas, or we're tempted to call him Doubting Thomas. He really is in on this deal. He's willing to die. And of course, we do have a problem at the arrest where Thomas and everybody else runs away, but we'll come back to that later. We'll get there as we go through this gospel. So today we're going to tackle verses 17 to 37 in the 11th chapter of John's Gospel. And let's just dive right in and talk about this, shall we? When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world." When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Okay. And this, of course, has the famous verse 35, where this is translated as Jesus began to weep. It's often just translated as Jesus wept. It's actually wept Jesus in the Greek. But we'll come to that as we come back through here. Jesus gets there, and Lazarus has been in the tomb for 4 days dead. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll deal with that part of this tomorrow as we get to the actual resurrection of Lazarus. So here he has come down to Bethany. Again, it's near Jerusalem. It's only 2 miles away. I don't think they actually know where Bethany was, to be honest, right to this day. Hasn't been found. It's probably buried under something else. Things get piled up over there, if you might imagine. And many of the Jews came to console. There were people consoling Mary and Martha. But when Martha heard Jesus was coming, she ran out to greet him. And of course, she says to him, "If you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." And Jesus says to her that he will rise again. And she conflates this or connects this to the general resurrection, the coming resurrection that we as Christians too believe in. This is something the Pharisees believed in. This is one of the reasons why we believe Jesus was a Pharisee, because he most sternly and adherently holds to the resurrection. This is a tenet of our religion, folks. So the resurrection on the last day. And of course, you got to remember, Jerusalem, not knowing where this is at, as you come into Jerusalem, there's that huge cemetery, the Jewish cemetery, that they believe will be the place where the resurrection will begin. The first bodies to rise will rise from that cemetery across the way from Jerusalem on the Mount of Olives. And it's quite an impressive place as you go through there. There are tombs that date back to the time of Solomon. It is amazing. It is unbelievable. It blows your mind to see that. This is where Jesus would have walked by as he's going into the city for the final week of his life, for the Passion Week. So, but we come to that in Easter. We'll come to it soon here. But so Jesus says, no, that's not what I'm talking about. He kind of alludes to that. But she runs and gets Mary and brings Mary back to him. And everybody follows her out because they think Mary's going to the tomb to weep for Lazarus at the tomb. And you got to remember, in those days, you not only had the family and whatnot, but you had professional mourners that would come, and that was their job, was they would go around and mourn people for those days of the funeral. And it's not, again, just like weddings were not short events like we have now, funerals are not short events like what we have now either. Things went on for days. So it was a different kind of time. But we come to that verse where Mary and Martha, they're weeping, and they say this to Jesus, and Jesus says, "Where have you laid him?" They take him to the tomb, and then we have verse 35. Jesus began to weep, or Jesus wept, or wept Jesus. Now, I heard one commentator saying that this was Jesus burst out crying. Is it the way this should be translated? And that's actually not true. It's quite, I guess it is in a way, but it's not like a violent bursting out. It means to weep quietly, but to weep with actual tears, to have that being overwhelmed with emotion. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that, but I can relate to this. This is something that you have. Gail and I lost a son the better part of 30 years ago. It's not quite 30 years, but nearly. It's getting closer by the day. And to this day, all of those years later, there are times when I might be just sitting there and suddenly something reminds me, something hits me, and I start to weep. And it's that quiet. It's not, and you might have a light sobbing, but it's not that bursting out in tears. It's just all of a sudden your heart is rendered and your soul is torn, and it's a very deep, deep grief. And especially Gail is very much apt to have those moments. It's much more than I am, where suddenly she will be crying, and I'll like, what is going on? And something reminded her of Wyatt. And so she just suddenly weeps, and it's like the whole bottom drops out of you. Your spirit just, and this is what's going on with Jesus. This is Jesus can emulate. He can relate. He can understand our sorrow, our grief. When we lose a loved one, he experienced that as a human being. So we don't worship a God that doesn't relate to us, folks. We worship a God that understands our grief, that he's there to console us in our grief, because he's experienced that same type of grief. We have to understand that Jesus wept Jesus. He too had his heart broken, his soul crushed. Even though he was God, he understands what it's like to be, to suffer a loss as a human being. So we can take that to comfort us that in our moments of grief, that Jesus understands, that he's there with his arm around us. And so that's where I'm going to leave you today. We'll pick up tomorrow and pretty much finish the story of Lazarus. And then, like I said, Monday we'll pick up with the plot to kill Jesus. But next week will be a little bit off because it's Thanksgiving week. So I won't be doing a devotion on Thursday or Friday, probably. So we'll have a bit of a break there, and we'll pick up on Monday. All right? So I will leave you with that. Have a very, very blessed day. Please come back and see us tomorrow. Don't forget that tonight we do have drive-through communion at 5 to 5:15, and then I will post up a song or a video of some kind at 7 o'clock tonight. All right? And don't forget the concert tickets are on sale, and you'll want to get your tickets. I've sold quite a few this week, so please don't forget, and I don't want to miss out on ticket. So come on in or call me here at the church at 712-464-3290. Or you can email in your ticket orders. Tell us how many tickets you want, adult for 15 or children for 10. And that is WCC Ticket Sales, all one word, at hotmail.com. And you can tell us what you want, or you can send it to the regular church email address, and Clint will forward it to me or to my email address, and I will get it. But it would be best if you send it to WCCTicketSales or at hotmail.com. Okay? All right. Have a blessed day, and hopefully we'll see you later today or tomorrow. God bless. Bye-bye.